Hi kids, it's Bunny with another junk journal. This one I call Quiet Elegance. I'm going to go through this pretty quickly because my camera cut off the last time I did this. So it is hardback. Anyway, hardback with a fabric covering and a pretty picture, and here's a vintage brooch. And let me untie this satiny ribbon that holds it together, and we have a pretty flower applique on the front. Okay. Just want to mention that the digitals that you see, the full page digitals you see in this, are by Paper Cameo on Etsy, and she does beautiful work, or he, I don't know what it is. Anyway, inside the front cover there is a lace pocket with a journaling card. Journaling cards are all blank on the back so you can journal on them. Here's a vintage photograph. 1946 is the date, it says. And here is a tag. All tags, most of them are also blank on the back so that you can write on them. And in this pretty envelope is a little note to whoever buys the journal about this journal, telling them what a junk journal is and how they can use it. Okay, and we have a little button down here with a face on it, and you'll see lace on the edges of many of the pages and little clusters and things here and there. There's a lot of details. And in this pocket there's a journaling card and a vintage photograph. Don't know the date of this one. And a tag. This tag has a pocket on the back with a small journaling card. And there's also a teeny weeny envelope. And in the teeny weeny envelope is a teeny weeny journaling card and a vintage stamp and some other little tiny goodies. And there's one of my hand-sewn clusters and vintage book pages. This vintage children's book page. And paper doily. This is from a vintage first aid manual. And this is vintage sheet music. This is vellum that I printed a pretty picture on. And in this pocket is a journaling card. Excuse me. And a playing card, vintage playing card. This is a vintage scorekeeping card. I don't know what game. And a tag. And this pocket's really a little envelope, and if you open it up, inside is a small vintage photograph, which I will not try to put back in. Some more little clusters, more vintage pages. This is vintage wallpaper. And I'll put a little something on the other side. Vintage book page. This is a movable little thing that you can write inside. And this is a large side pocket. Inside of it is a love letter from a soldier to his wife in World War II. And this is a teeny tiny journal, which I have another one that's slightly larger that I did not put in here because it made it too fat, but I will include it. But this teeny tiny one and the other one have little teeny tiny ephemera and little details that I'm sure you will enjoy. Here's just a bunch of little blank sheets of paper, and on the other side you can see the vintage paper that it came from. This is an envelope flip out, and inside of it is a journaling card and a page from a planner, 1924. And over here we have it's just some interesting reading that I found from a vintage book of some sort. Here's more vellum with a pretty picture. This needs to be tighter or something. And as we continue on, because we don't want the battery to run out, more vintage pages. This is some embroidery, just a little sample. And in this tuck we have a journaling card. I like the dog. And a tag. And a little glassine envelope. And inside of it are some little, I think that's a button and a ticket. Just some little things in there. Here's some more vintage wallpaper. Here is a glassine newspaper thing. Strange thing that I found. More pages out of vintage books. This is another envelope flip out with a pretty journaling card and a vintage photograph. And on the other side, I tucked a vintage Swiss Air baggage claim tag. Should have saved that for my travel journal, shouldn't I? Here's some vintage stamps, more vintage pages, more vellum, book page. There's a little bag. Inside of it is a pretty picture. Journaling card. That is an actress of days gone by. I can't remember her name though. Might be Lily something. And as we go on, we see more vintage music. Here is a journaling card and a tag. Here's another one that has a pocket on the back with a little journaling card and a ticket for New York and Fleetwood. And this pocket unfolds so that you have a full page you can write on, and then you can fold it back up. Easy peasy. There we go. And this is Edith Holden, pages from one of her books. And this is a vintage postcard, 1911, with writing on it, and a tag, and another glassine envelope with little bitty thingies inside. More music, book pages. Here's a bag with an agent stub and a journaling card. More vellum. Love that stuff. This is a paper bag that it opens up, and inside you'll find a picture on the bottom and a vintage photograph. And this is a cigarette card, trading card, vintage. And this is just applique, pretty applique. Probably not vintage. And I will fix that later. There's another vintage photograph. There's a flip out envelope with a vintage photograph and a journaling card. And on the other side is something from a 1949 date book kind of thing, calendar. It's more from the paper cameo. And in this tuck there is a journaling card and a tag and a teeny weeny envelope with teeny weeny stuff in it, and a flashcard, vintage. And here's some more of the vellum paper. Here's a construction plan for a boat, vintage book, and it's just doily. This is some pretty paper that I did some texture paste on. And in this pocket is a journaling card and a tag with a pocket on the back and another vintage photograph. And this is a little envelope, and inside of it is a little teeny vintage photograph. It's a cute little man. I think he's so cute. And this was found in a vintage book and somebody's notes of some sort. More wallpaper. I'm really rushing, aren't I? Here's a big side pocket, and it has a lovely cabinet card in it. It's a beautiful lady. And then it has envelope and stationery from the Hotel Leamington in Oakland, California. That's vintage. And here's another flip out with a journaling card and a vintage photograph. On the other side is Western Trust Company check from 1949. I really enjoyed working on this journal. Here are some vintage stamps. Okay. And here we have another vintage, beautiful vintage postcard. I don't know when it is from, but it is probably from the teens or the 20s. And a tag and a ticket. Vintage, of course. And this little bag is a calling card, vintage calling card. Oh, and it's the kind where the name is hidden under the design. And there's also another little thing with a cute little picture. We should have calling cards. Well, we do. We have business cards. It's not the same, though. And here's more vintage magazine and book pages. Here is a lace pocket with a journaling card and a tag and another journaling card. And there's some more pretty vellum. And here's another just variety of papers that you can write on or do what you will. Here is some more Edith Holden. And in the middle here, with a stencil, and in the middle here is this really pretty picture, Revue de la Mode, which I believe is vintage. And I did stenciling on either side. And there's the other side of Edith. And this tuck, there's journaling card and a tag. This one has the pocket on the back. And this is just some kind of vintage star I found somewhere, and I just thought it looked cool, so I included it. Here's more vellum and more vintage book pages. Here's a vintage photograph. Another flip out. Inside of it is a vintage photograph and a vintage label that went on crates that held seed packets. And that's vintage. Little ruffle. And journaling card on the other side. I'm getting out of the camera. In this bag, there's a journaling card and a vintage photograph. You know, I had comments to make about all the photographs, but I don't have time to make them. This is a vintage postcard. And there's a tag and another teeny tiny